Hey guys, Corrie Jones here, garden girl with two peas in a bucket, with the next installment of 213 and 2013, the Monday video series where me and a few other garden girls put together a bunch of creative prompts so that by the end of 2013, you will have 213 creative prompts to help you get started and keep you inspired to scrapbook. To get you started this week, my prompts are going to be to one, scrapbook your pet. 2. Shuffle it until it works. 3. Use feathers. And 4. Splatter with sequins. And my supplies. I'm going to use some watercolors, and then also I pulled out all these great Jenny Bolin feathers. There's feather tags, feather rub-ons, and feathered chipboard. There's also some badge buttons from Jenny, and then also some of these exclusive ones from Two Peas in a Bucket. These 2x2 wood veneer cards, some star paper clips, these great blue thickers, and then just some papers that I have from Elle's Studio collection. It's a couple different collection. One of actually is even the Christmas collection, but it's going to work for this page. I actually rented a camera this week, and in wanting to really get my use out of the rental, I've been taking pictures of everything. And I took this picture of my dog. She's really old, and I realized after taking the picture that we really just don't have a ton of pictures of her, and she's definitely not represented in my scrapbook. So that's what we're doing. We're going to scrapbook our pet today. I really wanted to make sure that the colors on my page too match the colors in the photo. She's a golden retriever and she's got this beautiful golden fur, a little bit on the red side, but that's really, I wanted it to almost be monochromatic except for the blue that I was going to use for the thicker. So to get the colored background that I wanted, instead of trying to hunt down a piece of pattern paper, I just went ahead and decided that I was going to use watercolors to just give my background just a little bit of color. So that's all I'm doing here. Is it's very watered down, the color is very watered down, but it dries really quickly, and I'm just getting a little bit of color on that background because I don't want it to be stark white. I used a little bit of this, it's a brown, but then in the center, to bring out some of the highlights in her hair, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of orange. It's almost a yellow, but a little bit, again, very watered down. Just testing my color, just down the center so that the page is completely covered and it's not a white background. Now that my background is finished, and I did help it dry a little bit with the aid of my heat gun, I decided that it was time to start getting things laid out. I wanted to use these 2x2 wood veneer pieces from Two Peas, and then what I had done is I cut out using some of the cut files from Two Peas, more of these 2x2 squares, with the idea that I would put together a grid. So I cut them out using my silhouette, using this Elle's Studio paper, and I loved all the little shapes, the stars, the love, the heart with the arrow going through it. All of them were super cute. But once I started getting it on the page, I realized it didn't lay out perfectly with the size of my photo, and so I needed to figure out a way to make the whole grid layout work. So that's where the shuffling comes in. This is when I know it's going to be a grid, and it's just about making it work, and so I'm going to shuffle these little pieces around until I can get it all laid out the way I want it to be. Now I didn't have enough pieces for my grid, so I chose another piece of pattern paper. It's just this grid is the only part that I want. I don't want any of the part with the dots. And I'm just going to cut out some 2x2 squares. And then I've got a little bit of a corner rounder, and I'm going to go ahead and round the corners off so that all of the squares are, the layout of them is all the same. Once I had the extra squares, the grid part of my layout design came together so much easier. It just, once having all the needed pieces just made it so it just so easily came together, and I was really happy with it. Once I have all these pieces glued down, I did decide that they looked kind of like they were floating. So to kind of ground them, what I did is I ended up stitching around the outside edge of the paper with a darker thread, and it just really made the page all seem like it all grounded together a lot better. It was at this point while I was creating this page that I just got so happy with it. Um, it looked exactly how I had imagined it, even though it wasn't how I imagined it. So I was really, really pleased. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the title. The title is going to be Old Girl because that's what she is. She's all gray in the face and she's just really starting to act like an old dog with not as much energy and her hips are hurting and things like that. So just wanted to remember her today. And to make sure that these stickers stay down, I went ahead and just hot glued them down. And embellishing, is always so much fun. I like to embellish with words and then also different embellishments. So I added this little doggy badge button from Jenny Bolin and then the word sweet in pink alphabets. I'm also adding her name, which is Indiana Jones. We call her Indy, but her name is Indiana Jones. So I wanted to add that on there too. And then to keep embellishing with some words, I had actually cut out a bunch of different words from some of the other two-piece cut files. This one says family. Got another one that says love, one that says lovely, one that says beautiful, and then amazing. All things that we've used to describe her before. And just get those around the page as well. This is the pattern paper that I cut this out of was actually part of the Noel collection from Elle's Studio. It's a chalkboard paper, but you can obviously see how beautifully it works as cut out as letters on this. And now it's time to use feathers. I think that there's been a discussion before, maybe on the two-piece forum, about what are you supposed to do with these feathers? And quite honestly, I've been there and had the same feelings before. Typically, the only other time I've used feathers on a page is when I can say, "Oh, you tickle me" or something of that nature. But in this one, I just honestly, I'm using them because I think the shape is really cool. I love the colors they work with my page, and because quite honestly, I liked them. So break out the feathers. Don't be afraid to use them. I think sometimes we put too much thought into making sure they have meaning when sometimes they just look pretty. So just go with that and have a good time. Use some feathers. I'm also adding in just a couple of little badges. One says warm and cozy, or cozy and warm, because that's so what she is. This dog is just, especially at this point in her life, she just wants someone to love on her. So, and then also the date that I took the picture. I'm adding in these little silver paper clips, the little stars, just because, again, I like them. I think they're cute and I want to use them on my page. And then I'm ending up going to use one of these leaf badge buttons, and I'm using those because quite honestly it looks like a heart to me. So that's why I used it on there. This dog really is just the sweetest thing. I'll tell you a story. When my daughter, who's almost 10, was a baby, she used to crawl over to this dog and just, she would fall on her with all of her weight, and the dog would just lay there and take it. She wouldn't flinch, she never barked, she never growled, she never tried to nip at her, nothing. She just always was the best family dog. We got so lucky with her because she never once has been aggressive to anybody in the house. She even almost lost her ear when she was much younger because the girls would try and put pigtails in her hair with rubber bands and use her ears as the pigtails, and so luckily she didn't. But she's just always been such an amazing dog. Even last night we put bead necklaces on her, and you would have thought that she knew she looked beautiful in them, so it was really fun. So now I'm just going to add some more feathers. I love these rub-ons. Jenny Bolin has some of the best rub-ons. They stick really well. They easily come off the little contact sheet. And so I just want to add in a couple feathers here and there, just to kind of, keep using the feathers. Why not? Use up those supplies. That's what it's all about, right? Now, I usually like to splatter my pages with a little bit of ink. I think the look is really cool and I like adding the little bits of color. But obviously, at this point, I'm not going to put ink on this page. It'd end up all over the place, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to splatter with sequins instead. I'm going to use these little sequins from Jenny Bolin, and I just kind of toss them on the page here and there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just glue them down basically where they fell. It's a neat way to have sort of a splattery type of look, but without the ink and without that extra mess. And just use the sequins instead. Gives it a little texture too, which is always kind of fun, a little more dimension. Um, and it's an inexpensive scrapbook supply. The last thing I want to do is to make sure that I just put her little nickname on there. So I did write AKA Indy on there. So this page is just about her. Needed to be all about her. And that's it, guys. As a recap, my prompts this week are to scrapbook your pet, shuffle until it works, to use feathers, and to splatter with sequins. My challenge for you is to use any one of these creative prompts in a layout and to share it with us in the gallery. Thanks so much. This is Corrie Jones, Garden Girl with 2 peas in a bucket. Have a great week.